KeePass is a password manager that is open source, and it's very popular for several reasons. The purpose of this video is to give an overview of using KeePass to help secure your online world, passwords, user accounts, and other things that are important to you. The first thing you have to do, of course, is download it. I highly recommend going to keepass.info to download it directly from the source. Don't download it from a third-party site. And download the most recent version for your operating system. Once you have it downloaded, install it, launch it, and you should be presented with a screen similar to this. The first step in using KeePass is to create a database. So we're going to click New here, and we're going to go, I'll just put it on my desktop, and I'll just call it Demo, and it's going to ask for a password. This is important to use a very secure password, one you've never used anywhere else, and one that you will for sure remember, because there is no getting it back if you forget this password. I'm going to call it Demo again, give it the database name. That's if you have more than one open, it'll help you identify which one you're working in. And I'm going to hit OK. It's going to offer to print out a sheet with your password on it. You can do that if you wish. Keep it in a safe place, safety deposit box or a vault or something like that. I'll skip it in this case. And you'll see here there's some sample entries that are generated. You can, of course, delete those if you want, or edit them to make them useful. I will go ahead and just show you the ropes using one of these. If I open up one of these cards by double-clicking the title, you'll see that the sample entry, we're going to call this my website here, and my username, and I'll give it a password of password123. You'll notice it highlights this in red because the passwords don't match. I can either type it in again, or I can turn on display so I can see it. If no one's looking over my shoulder, this is safe enough. If someone is looking over your shoulder, you can, of course, type it in twice, and it will take away the red highlight if you get it exactly matched. Once I've made my changes or created my new entry, I hit OK, and now I have this entry here, or this card. And of course, these can be moved around to different folders in here, or groups as they call them, and you can create new groups. Make one for my financial stuff, and I can go in here and pick an icon from a library of icons. Is there a dollar sign in here somewhere? So whatever icon works good for you, and hit OK, and now that group will be created with that icon. There's other management things you can do in here as well, as like rearrange all the subfolders and all the content alphabetically. So if I were to create a new entry here for my bank and give it the username of and my password, and I'll turn on visible so I can see it to make sure I typed it right, and I'll put in my website here and hit OK. Now I've created a card that I can later find. If I come in here, I can type in any piece of the information and find the results here, or I can browse directly to it. The one thing I will suggest, one of the things I'll suggest, is that you go into Tools and then go into Options and go to the Advanced Options section. There are a couple of settings in here I highly recommend changing, and it has to be changed each time you install KeePass. I would turn on these two automatic save options so you don't accidentally forget to save changes you've made and let it sit there for a couple hours and your computer crashes and you lose those changes. So I would turn those on. And then down at the bottom here, I would also turn on this remember password hiding setting. So if you prefer to see the password when you launch it, you can turn that on or off here, and when you exit and come back in, it will remember that setting for you. You don't have to remember it or toggle it back and forth each time. A couple of quick things here. If you double click a URL in your list of in this column here, if you double click this URL, it will like a browser, which is nice. You don't have to go browse to it separately. You just double click, it'll launch in your default browser. You can also double click the username, and it'll put it in your clipboard. You can see I can paste it in here, and in the bottom right hand corner You can see the green countdown timer here. It's a 12 seconds by default. And once that timer is done, I can no longer paste that username. Same thing works for passwords. I can copy and paste to paste into the password for 12 seconds, and then it goes away from the clipboard. Another nice thing is you can also do auto type. So if you click on an entry in your list and then press Control V on your keyboard, or you can right click and you can do what they call auto type. So Control V or right click and perform auto type. What it will do is it will minimize KeePass and switch back to where you were. And it will type in your username and then hit tab and type in your password automatically for you. So you can see it typed in my username, hit tab, type in your password. So that's pretty slick for logging on a website. You can double click and then click in the sign in box and come over here and just hit Control V to do the auto type. So that makes it pretty fast to log in and out of websites. And you don't have to trust your browser to remember those passwords, which is less secure than KeePass is. And done that, you can, of course, close out of KeePass. And when you launch KeePass again, by default, it will remember the password, the database you were using, and type in your password, and it'll launch right back up again. And there's settings under advanced for what happens when you minimize it and stuff like that. So play around with those, read up on it. There's a quick demonstration of how to use KeePass. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments or send me an email.